Okay. Hello and welcome to the BUSR. I am Alex, joined here by Matty, and today it is round 6 of the Winter Championship. We are in the Yas Marina circuit. Going to be the 6th. So the 6th round out of 8 is quite a tight battle at the front right now. Joe's got a bit of a lead, but Cameron does seem to be a little bit pacey, so maybe he can try to claw back some of those points and try to get himself the win over Joe here. It's obviously it's a 10-point difference for 10th to 2nd. So, if he gets a couple of P1 finishes, he could probably claw back that points deficit.
Yeah, definitely. We've still got 3 rounds of the season. Anything could happen, although Joe having that drop round really does help him out when it comes to deciding the final standings, but we all know the potential of Cameron, so he wins every race. Something doesn't happen to him, I think, is how we currently put it. But Joe finishing top 2 in all 5 of the races so far will be interesting to see what they both can do here. Abu Dhabi is normally the final round of the calendar here, but this time it's 3rd last, but we've seen many fights over the years. Last one was Winter 23 between me and Cameron. Spring 23, that was a fun race, which did not end controversially at all. But yeah, we're going to have a good time, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely be a good one. Obviously, we're still running 23, so it's going to be similar Q1 times, qualifying times as last time. We're looking around about the 1 minute 21, 1 minute 22 area for that. So hopefully, once in about 10 minutes, 10 minutes time, we'll be underway for that. Obviously, it is quite an interesting circuit, Yas Marina, I must say. Definitely one of the tracks of all time, in my opinion. It was built around at the time of places trying to fill was it Bernie Eccleston's big dreams of having these glitz and glamour races at different places, and now we are here with Yas Marina. Always the Formula One calendar's last race of the season, but now we are up around here. But yeah, last race out, we had we were in Monaco with Joe taking the lead over Cameron Searle and having quite an interesting battle up at the top there, finishing just a little bit ahead of Cameron, trying to finish onto those final positions. Obviously, Monaco not being the best track to overtake on. So if you do finish on pole position, you are normally slated to win the Grand Prix. Obviously, wasn't there for that one, but after watching the replays, it did seem to be quite a fun little battle between everyone. I thought Monaco would have a lot more DNFs, to be fair, given how sometimes in public lobbies as well, where you can get at least half the lobby DNF on you.
Yeah, we definitely had a fair share of safety cars last week, including a red flag halfway through what was meant to be the race, but ended up being part 1 of 2. Yeah, I don't think we'll have too many safety cars here in Abu Dhabi. There are some walls we can hit into. Obviously, there's a famous one in Sector 3, but I'm sure the drivers know this track by now. Obviously, Sector 1, there's only one braking zone, and that's at Turn 1. Then you go to Turn Sector 2, it's just a hairpin, the chicane in between the two long back straights, and then Sector 3 it gets quite technical. You got the double apex left, followed by an interesting section below the hotel. So we'll see how it goes. I think, yeah, top guys in qualifying will be on around a mid 21, maybe even a low if they can do it. But any drivers that's in the low 22s should be on for a good spot on the grid.
Yeah, definitely always the case, and it looks like we've now got qualifying underway. 14 drivers in this session in Lobby 1, and it is the usual suspects here with Joe up, Cameron Searle, Mad Dog, Geek, and all the rest of the gang. So we'll be going for a quick intermission while we get some drivers out onto the track. Favourites for pole position around here? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say anyone but Cameron or Joe, so I'm going to say this one to Cameron. However, I think Joe will be at least 3/10 ahead of third place. That's my bold prediction of this one. And in third place, it's difficult because there's such a divide now between the top two and the rest of the field. But I think maybe even Ender Epic, we saw how good he was in Miami. He could pull a lap out of the bag, but Geek is always one to watch out for despite his hardware issues at the moment. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's always feeling like a Verstappen and Hamilton fight at the top there, and then everyone else is kind of all bunched up together, and while they put out a massive gap against the rest of the field. But it looks like we're going to be underway here with everyone going out for a flying lap and going to be preparing themselves with Rage up first in the Haas car, coming through to the final corner, now starting his flying lap, seeing how he's going to get on. Got quite a lot of speed coming into turn 1 here, going down into about 5th gear or so, 170 kilometers an hour, trying to really stay away from that apex because it can get a little bit bumpy, and now the compression into turn 3 really does unsettle the car sometimes if you can't really get that grip on. But it looks like he's got a good amount of heat in those tyres and is able to fling it around turn 5. Coming up now, long BUSR straight, one of the longest, was one of the longest in the calendar until Baku came along. But he just keeps on going as far as you can, as far as you think. 150-meter braking distance into about 80 kilometers an hour or so into second gear. It's a long, and again onto another long DRS straight. You got 2 DRS straights on this at this track, and both of those on the back straight. Nothing on the pit straight. It was one of the shorter pit straights of the circuit. Turn 9 being quite fast and long. Used to be quite a technical chicane area, but now it's been resurfaced just for a little bit of better racing. And now you're onto the, as I like to call it, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing section of Kimi Raikkonen, and onto the famous wall here now, coming through now to complete his sector 3 and to see where he sets the pace for the rest of the field.
Yeah, I don't expect this time to be quite near the top of the standings come the end of it, but it is a 23.7. Coming up next is Ender Epic. Let's see what he can do. I expect him to return to the top of the timesheets. It's a 122.7. For these first laps, you're going to want to be around the low 22s if you're one of the quick people. Mad Dog, what can he do? Almost beats Ender Epic within 600ths of him. Last year, Newt replaces Ender Epic at the top. That's a 122.5. Reese hands in the Mercedes, goes P4 with a 22.8. Geek is on an out lap, so he's just about to start his go. Joe, one of our title contenders, goes instantly 7/10 quicker with a 121.8, but I know he won't be satisfied with that one. It's James in the Red Bull. What can he do coming up to the line? It's a 123.4 up to 7th place. And Cameron Searle, Joe's rival, what can he do? It's a 121.7, in fact, 1/10 ahead of Joe.
For reference, it's pole time. Last time we were here in Abu Dhabi, it was a 1 minute 21.8 by Desan, and Joe set a 21.89. So definitely already improving on last year's times. I found a little bit more pace this time around. So hopefully we see these times drop even further. You're looking maybe even to the mid 21s if you're feeling a little bit adventurous. But now we've got Cameron Searle just doing his own thing now, recharging that battery and going to be probably clawing his way into the pits and getting a new set of soft tyres on. Obviously, there's only one qualifying session here. You don't have the Q1, Q2 eliminations that you normally do in F1. So it is just one big qualifying session to the end of the till the end of the session. We've got 12 minutes left on the board. Everyone's going to be just trying to find where the grip is, where you can take the corners as quickly as possible, and just really trying to fill the lap out and not trying to throw it into the wall. Otherwise, that will, that is putting you out of contention entirely, obviously.
Yeah, not too many surprises coming out of these first few laps. I mean, I didn't quite expect a 6.5 gap between second and third, but hey ho, that's where we are. Geek has managed to put himself P5. That's quite close from 4th down to 6th. Yeah, as you say, these few minutes, people just be returning to the pits, waiting to go out for their second runs. Normally you get 3 runs in a normal 18-minute session. So, yeah, there's not much really we can talk about at the moment, but I expect either Cameron or Joe to at least do a 21.5, but Ender Epic, that looked like a purple Sector 2 for him, so let's see what this
indeed,
could be.
Yeah.
Sector 3 can be quite tricky if you're not great on the throttle, but it seems like he's nailed it. Stay within that white line, that's good. Around the final 2 corners, it's a right and then another right. What can he do up to the line? It's a 122.4 up to 3rd place. Well done for the Ferrari. Instantly replaced.
And I was about to say, yeah, the last 10
into 3rd place. That's a very good time for him, up to a 122.2.
Still almost 4/10 off of Joe's time there. So the P2 to P3 gap is still quite large, and hopefully we get a couple more people trying to prod into that P2, front row positions. Get a couple of offsets in there, and let's see how it goes into turn 1. But we've got now Cameron Searle. It looks like to be on his onto his preparation lap, I think. He's actually, in fact, on quite a quick lap here, and he's going for a 1 minute 21.6. Okay, and that is Cameron Sell absolutely just destroying his previous time, as he does. So let's see whether Joe can respond to that immediately, or if he's going to try to take a bit more of a calculated approach and play a long game, see if there's any. There we go. Internet's just.
What I believe that was from Cameron is a second go on his one set of tyres, and this is clever from him to enable him to save a set of brand new soft tyres, potentially for use at the start of the race. Normally, the race strategy here is hard medium, as it is with most other tracks on the calendar, but there is a strategy, mainly if you're on wheel, that you can start on the soft tyre and then change over to the medium, because wheel gives you that slight advantage when it comes to preserving the tyres. So that's what I predict Cameron will be doing, and I'm sure Joe will be very aware of that potential. But moving on, we see cars now coming out for their second laps. Finn here is just starting his lap. Currently. He made it.
My internet just died for a moment. Thank you very much. Goodness. Now I've got Finn on his flying lap here, his first flying lap it looks like, and trying to see whereabouts he places onto this timing screen. See if he tries to beat out his Williams teammate here. He's got one car going out of the way quite nicely there. I think that was one of the Aston Martins. So either Joe or Lemon, not really too sure there, but we've got Ben crossing the line, and he goes 24.4, about 4 tenths off of P13, and stays last. Now, is that Aston Martin behind? That Aston Martin's Lemon behind Finn. That is not Joe, for that matter. But he is out right now, and actually going to be starting his fastest lap, I believe. And now we've got
Lemon track 1/10 up out of sector 1. Shrimp's forehead up to 11th. He'll be pretty pleased with that, I think. Right, now Joe, sector 1, let's see what he could do coming out of there. It's purple, it's a 10th up, round the hairpin. Down the long back straights we go, open the DRS, and not much to do here apart from set yourself up for the braking zone quite nicely. Eventually you'll have to go down 5 gears, throws it into the left. Nicely done. Right, avoid this curb on the inside now, take as much of it on the outside. He seems to have done that fairly uneventful. Keep tight to the left-hand wall here, just to minimise the distance. And what's the time out of sector 2? He's lost some time, but still up on his lap. Currently not on track to beat Cameron's time, but we can see what he does in sector 3. Down into this slow section now. Round the right, keep it on the track here. This could be good. Does he stay within the track limits? It seems like he does. Right-hander, and then the final corner, down to 4th gear. What could he do? Can he beat Cameron? Not quite. It's within a 10th, but still 800th behind.
It's a very good lap from Joe, but it's like Cameron's just a little bit out of reach right now. But the thing is, though, I think that would be Joe on new softs, and that was Cameron on new softs. So Joe's already burnt through a second set of softs. I know you get about 4 softs for the qualifying session, but that said, you do maybe want to keep one for the race start but obviously Joe's on controller, so his options are a little bit limited when it comes to tyre wear and options for that matter. But it looks like now we're just going to be crawling back into the pits for another go later on. 6 minutes after the session, and just over halfway done. It's Cameron Sell P1, Joe P2, and Last Gen Nuke P3. Quite a fair gap between Joe and Last Gen, but it looks like it's going to be a fight for the front row between these two drivers right here, Cameron Sell and Joe. Cameron now on his next outlap, as Joe has also now gone is now into the latter stages of the track as he gets back into the pit lane. But now let's see how Cameron gets out with probably. Another run for him, and my stream. My stream keeps doing this.
I think Ender Epic's about to set a lap time. He went round the final corner up to P3 into the one. He goes round the final corner. What can last year Nuke do into the pit lane? That's unfortunate, but as you see, Cameron Searle about to set his third lap time of this session.
Coming down now and breaking into turn 1. Got to really try to get himself prepared for the for that left-right sequence of turn 2 and 3. It is flat out, but at the same time, if you don't set yourself up for it, you will be losing a lot of time now. Turn 4 easily flat in these cars, no problem at all. Turn 5 heavy braking into it. Now no longer with that very annoying chicane and a nice left-hand hairpin to contend with, and now onto this back straight. Just try and prepare yourself up for turn 6 now. Not really much else to talk about apart from the fact you've got DRS wide open and trying to use as much of that deployment as possible now, breaking into turn 6. This is where you can get a little bit tricky if you don't get this sequence of corners right. If you're doing it at the flow, you just hold on to the white line at the end. They're now hugging onto that left-hand wall, trying to minimise that distance and minimise the amount of scrubbing you get off those tyres. And now into turn 9, quite quick, about 180 k's, and now into turn 3, your technical section. Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. Turn 13 and 14 is quite quick, and now up to the penultimate corner, but he has invalidated his lap. That is not what he wants to see. Wants to try to build that gap and is just not able to do it this time round of asking. That's a used set of tyres there. That's another loss of track there as well.
Unless he can conserve these tyres well enough, I don't think he's going to have time to go again. Definitely not on a new set at least. He was only 3 thousandths up after Sector 2, so not sure if he would have improved anywhere. I saw him go quite tight into Sector 3, so I'm not sure he was following the ideal line. But Joe will soon be coming out on his third brand new set of salt tyres, so I'm sure we'll see an improvement from him, hopefully, and maybe even take pole off Cameron.
I thought it was my internet that's been cutting out. Actually, apparently not. So, not for me to blame for my internet, although it has been kind of lacking in recent days. Now, Joe is out on another outlap, presumably in new tyres as well, and now we've got Cameron now to make his way back into the pits, and Quicks has now left the session. We've got last gen new, I believe he might be on a flyer actually, coming out. Oh no, okay, he's on a. No, actually, my bad. Sorry. Yeah. And then we've got new out on his flying lap. He's in P4 right now, trying to see if he can make his way into the front row, or maybe even for that matter. Keeps cutting out. Oh dear.
We're back again. Mad Dog is now on his lap, round the final corner, up to 6th place, almost beating out Reese in the Mercedes. Speaking of, he's about to start his final lap. I believe this is Cameron about to start his on quite used tyres at this point. There's a Red Bull, I believe, starting. No, it's a Williams starting his outlap. Shrimp forehead. What could he do? We'll see in a bit. Yeah, we're still waiting, I think, at the moment for drivers to get out there and finally set their final runs of the session.
It's now getting into those late stages of the session where everyone's going to be out setting their flying laps and really setting in those banker laps. The actual lap times of contending for pole position here. The other laps were of course, just to try and test the waters and see how far they can take it. Oh, and that is a tyre off.
Wow!
Of one of the AlphaTauris, if I'm not mistaken. Did I see that correctly, or was it something off?
There was definitely something on the track.
No, that's just my eyes.
Anyway, we'll find out. I believe this is Cameron Searle at the final corner. Mad Dog's not going to set a quicker lap time. Cameron is 2/10 up after Sector 2. That's a 21.4, putting 3/10 between him and Joe. What can Reese do coming up to the line? He's gone very slowly. Joe's now in Sector 2. Lemon Track is invalidated. Round the final corner now for Shrimp's Forehead. Can he improve at all? Up to 11th place, not too bad. Now, Joe, heading through Sector 3, that's the one you want to keep your eye on. It's James, though, is up 3/10. He'll do quite a decent improvement if he can do it. Round the final corner, what can the Red Bull do? He should go ahead of Quixotical at least. It's up to 9th, only the 1 position gain. Now, this is Joe. Oh, he's down after Sector 2. It's a purple Sector 3, but he can't beat Cameron. Rage stays 12th place. Last Gen Newt also can't improve. And that is Ender Epic, 2/10 down after Sector 2. I don't think he'll improve either. So at the front, we shouldn't see too much shuffling around, although Geek, I believe, is coming around the final corner. What can Geek do? It's P5, almost beating last year, but not quite. Finn, can he improve from P14? Yes, he can, but only by 1 position. Mad Dog has invalidated, and that is qualifying.
And that leaves Cameron Searle on pole position, 4/10 clear of Joe and Ender Epic in P3, and that is your top 3 for qualifying today. Wow, 4/10 quicker than the previous pole time. On the same game, these guys have improved quite a fair bit this since last year. This game, they really have shaped themselves up a lot better, and Cameron Searle bringing himself up into pole position against his title rival Joe. Well, on grids of quite an interesting grid. We've got Ender and Last Gen Newt. Maybe they can cause some chaos into turn 1 and see where they can get themselves. But that is qualifying for us. And with that, we have a little message from our sponsor of partner special effect.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
Truly an amazing cause from Special Effects. And now back to the race. We've got ourselves a 55 as a 50% race. It's like 35 laps or something. 20? No, it's quite a long race. About 30 odd.
28.
Yeah. So we're going to be seeing ourselves quite a number of laps of action for you guys here, with 14 drivers on the grid and 13 drivers on the grid to battle it out, with Cameron and Joe looking to be the favourites for the race here. It could really go either way. Obviously, we've seen our fair share of mistakes and whatnot, and we've now got a formation lap on hand.
Ooh.
We've seen our fair share of mistakes and strategical blunders and wheel disconnects and what have you from people up and down the grid. Cameron Searle is not immune from that, and it looks like it is going to be another race maybe decided by that, or hopefully It's going to be decided on track by everyone, by people's skill. But it looks like Cameron's going to be starting on the mediums, Joe's going to be starting on the hards. He does prefer to start on the hards, Joe does, and he's made them work quite well. It's normally his thing is doing hard to mediums, a bit of an offset to everyone else, but now I've got everyone. They do. Everyone going to be taking their positions for the starters race. All eyes to the lights as the final cars now roll into position and green flags are waved. There's 1 light, 2 light, 3, 4 and 5 lights on, and we are underway for the BUSR F1 Winter Series and with Cameron getting a very good start there, and with Joe slotting himself just behind Cameron, and everyone's getting a little bit out of shape and trying to make themselves into a nice and orderly queue into turn 3. And it looks like we've got Finn retiring. Cameras a bit, and that's the VSC neutralising the race already. The virtual tracker doing their job properly, but
there we go.
Race neutralised. Cameron Searle and Joe get away cleanly. No incidents up ahead. Last Gen Newton and Ender Epic as well are able to keep themselves alive. Finn and Lemon Track, it seems to be possibly the culprits. Some of the cameras don't really seem to be working too well, but we'll hopefully get that resolved as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think last Gen Newton has jumped Ender Epic there on the start. Interesting that Joe is the only hard tyre runner in the top 6. I would expect him more, to be honest, as that is the optimal strategy. But we have green flag racing once again, and Cameron Searle has pulled out an 8/10 gap somehow in that VSC, but Joe has also got an 8/10 buffer behind him. So what Joe will want to do is break at least the one behind. That DRS train can be quite powerful. Quixotical now, we can see on the back of Mad Dog. I don't expect any moves going to be happening around here, although that, speaking of, Reefhands has defended his position from Alpha. We've got a retirement, speaking of, and yet another virtual safety car. We do the whole thing again.
Yeah, another VSC for you. You only get 6 of them. Well, VSCs and full safety cars. So,
interesting. Third and fourth, it keeps swapping about.
Yeah, it looks like timing's off, cameras are off, and hopefully it all kind of sets itself. It does normally settle down a little bit later, but as we all know, EA do love this game so much and put a lot of time and thought into the netcode behind it. So cross fingers, it goes a little bit better this time. And also for Joe as well. Joe got a little bit of a lifeline there after losing out. And as I say that, Cameron Searle's already pulled off a second to Joe. I almost said that Joe could probably salvage this restart, but now he's got to catch up to that second. But Ender Epic is behind Joe by a second and is able to be out of DRS range. But now we've got Last Gen Newton and Ender Epic really trying to scrap at each other here and into turn 9, and is not going to be yielding his places too soon. And Last Gen Newton now getting a little bit trying to pull himself away from this pack here, as he doesn't really want to be holding this train up for any bit longer. He wants to get on with it and try to fight up into P2 with Joe, but it looks like he's going to be fighting an uphill battle from here on out, because Ender Epic is going to be getting himself a hand of DRS, not at the end of this lap, but the end of the next lap, I believe. We'll be getting ourselves some DRS. ERS deployment as well going to be quite powerful, as DRS isn't available, so people are going to be trying to swap places as much as possible off of this VSC restart, and it's going to be now I've got a little bit of a train forming in the mid pack as we've got Reese Hands in the pits, probably for a front wing change if I had to guess, or maybe even for a retirement. And yet
he not only lost 5 places with that incident with Alpha, but has also had to come into the pits for a change of wing and tyres. DRS now enabled on lap 3. Last Gen New and Ender Epic going at it once again. Are they side by side? If Ender Epic gets ahead of the McLaren, Geek is right well positioned here to take advantage of this. So what this has really done is Cameron Sell has pulled out yet another second out of Joe. I know they are on medium and hard tyres, so that just shows you, well, they're going 3 wide into turn 9. That's interesting. Geek round the outside. Can he hold it on? Slightly off the track there, but Geek up to third. Can he hold it? Around the inside. Gets it done into the slow section. Geek now from P5 on the grid up to P3.
Barely just clearing last gen Newt's front wing. There is a little bit of lockup there from Ender Epic, it seems, but it looks like he's going to be a-okay for that. Geek just barely missing that front wing there, so I'm going to be able to keep his rear tyres intact for another day. But he really went for it into turn 9 there, and he's paid off massively. Oh, and that was Ender Epic having a little bit of a moment there. It looks like going into a wall, but it looks like he's going to be able to redeem himself quite well. As Mad Dog now says thank you very much and takes that position. He's going to be regaining himself back onto the racing line and has now got to contend with Mad Dog as well out of that final podium position contention for the time being. Obviously, it's a 29 lap race, so we're going to be seeing quite a lot of action. As now we got last gen Newt on the inside of Geek and be able to get into that P3 position there with a very nice lunge into turn 6 and is able to get past Geek quite nicely indeed. Now we've got hopefully not very much of a DRS train forming up here. Now we've got Geek and last gen really going side by side. As now Geek is going to be able to get the better hand of last gen New into turn 9. It's going to be staying out in front of him for the time being. These two are having a very nice little scrap in the front parts of this race as they try to chase down Joe for that P2 position as well. I wouldn't say it's really much helping each other out, just more of trying to see. I do. And we've got Lemon Track with a 3-second time penalty. Didn't really see what that was for, because I had a little bit of a freeze moment, so I assume that would be for track limits if anything. But now we've got another train forming up. We've got a train forming up in front of Geek and another one forming up in front of Ender Epic, it seems, right now. But nobody's really in DRS range too much apart from last gen Newt and Mad Dog. Mad Dog and Ender Epic on the back of each other after Ender Epic's little excursion, but he's able to get in front of Mad Dog after that. And it's now got to be on the defensive against Mad Dog as he tries to make quite an adventurous lunge into turn 6 and is able to make that stick past. And is now a good exit through turn 7 will set him up here for a long run into turn 9. And hopefully clear himself off Ender Epic. But Ender Epic able to use that DRS deployment to his advantage and get in front for turn 9. Turn 9's braking zone isn't too long as well, so he's able to carry his speed through quite well. Excuse me.
Yeah, interesting that we don't actually have a defined train at the moment. They're kind of in their pairs in 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th. Last year, ahead of the Mercedes, obviously they're still both on the medium tyre, trying to catch up to Joe on the hards. There's now a 4.7 second gap out front. That's quite impressive, despite the tyre delta which will still be faster for the medium tyres of Cameron at the moment. I'm not sure if constantly overtaking each other is the best plan for last gen Newt and Geek, but if they feel as if they want to, they can go for it, I guess. Whatever they can do to try and close down those 3/10 that there is before they get DRS from Joe. Ender Epic has now dropped off quite a bit from the back of Geek. I'm not sure him and Mad Dog battling has done them much favours. Mad Dog on the hard tyre though, so if he could stick with Ender Epic, then when they change over to the other set of tyres, that will be good for him. Geek down the inside as well as Mad Dog, both changing places there, and I don't expect there to be... Yeah, actually Ender Epic has got a good run out of the chicane there, so he might be able to pull out a move down into turn 9.
Looking quite good. Newt always just gets a sniff of Geek's gearbox there, as he's just able to keep his nose clean and get a little bit and make sure that he doesn't get collected into the back and both of them spinning off the track. But these two holding their ground quite well. No time gained to Joe, no time lost to Joe too much, and at the same time there's not really much time lost or gained to each other either. So right now they're kind of in their own little stalemate. Retans with a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting as well. And now last gen Newt trying to find any kind of space he can, because it's one thing to try pass him, it's another thing to clear him of after the pass. So he's got to really try and make his move and make it stick and make sure he gets a good exit out of it as well. But obviously there's two different DRS detection zones on this track, one just before turn 5 and one just after turn 7. So really, even if you get past into turn 6, you can repass into turn 8. So really, your turn 9 is probably your best bet at this point here. And now you've got you got last gen on the back of Geek with that DRS. Geek sit like a sitting duck, and last gen onto the inside and is able to make that DRS overtake work into the braking zone of turn 6, as we've seen time and time again.
It does seem to be a recurring pattern, as once again we see the driver that just does the overtake into the chicane, gets re-overtaken down into turn 9. Mad Dog trying to do the same thing to Ender Epic. I think they might be side by side almost. Mad Dog claiming 5th place for himself. Just for these remaining laps before the pit stop, really, I don't think we'll see anything else other than what we've already just seen for the past couple of laps. People keep re-overtaking and repassing each other, but it's only these two battles that we can really keep an eye on at the moment, as everyone else is kind of spaced out, so there's not really much to pay attention to apart from the gap out in front, which is now 5.6. Now you'll see the tyre delta sort of neutralise, and I think Joe's hard tyres might be good at this stage of the race. Has something happened to him? It has. Geek down to 6th place. We've got a virtual safety car, in fact, as that might be a hardware issue. Oh, he's in the wall, in fact, and he's out of the race.
And he hit the wall trying to rejoin, and it looked like he broke the wishbone.
Interesting. Well, we now have a virtual safety car. Will any of the drivers take this opportunity to pit, or will it even in fact last long enough for them to pit, as they're now still in Sector 2? I'm not sure how long this will remain out for, as it hasn't called an actual safety car, so I don't expect people to take advantage of this, as I expect it to be green flag before they could get the opportunity to pit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's left out for an arbitrary amount of time, but that said, because Geek is just pretty much on the track, I would expect it to be out for a little bit longer, but that's, but I'm not really comparing it to much. There's not really much precedent in my mind for it, but Camerasol maybe actually is able to get into the pits for this, so he might even sniff up an early pit stop here, and go onto the hard and try to extend his stint onto the hard tyres. It's going to be quite a task for him, 20 odd laps onto those hard tyres, but he can possibly make it work. No, he's going to be staying out for this one, and that's probably going to be, and I don't think anyone's going to be blinking first, as now we've got a drive-through penalty for Lemon Track, as well as their 3-second time penalty. Now, not really a positive race for Lemon Track, as is trying to as they're now down in P10th after you've got three different DNS here. Now Ender Epic on the back of Mad Dog once again. Oh, I wonder where this is from. But we've got these two usual suspects now really battling out once again. It's providing us with something to talk about at the very least, which is always good. So thank you guys. I mean, actually, no, we've got It's James and Quicks on the back of each other. So maybe we've got another chance for the old switcheroo. Now we've got Mad Dog on with DRS, Ender Epic with DRS on Mad Dog, and into turn 6 with that braking zone and making them overtake stick quite nicely indeed. And hopefully It's James can maybe get the DRS open and start fighting to the back of Quicks as well.
Yeah, It's James saw Geek retire and thought, we need to replace one of the pairs. Mad Dog, of course, as is tradition, gets past Ender Epic into turn 9. I expect that to continue, as James doesn't quite get past Quicks, who's actually having a decent race now up into P6. We're down to 11 drivers, which is unfortunate, as we're only a third of the way through the race, but anyway, Last Gen now no longer has a friend to play with. He's now all on his lonesome in P3, so he can just, although his tyres will start running out, as I believe he's still on the medium tyres, so Joe's hards should be the better tyre at this stage of the race, until maybe we get another safety car or a VSC that's conveniently timed, where I expect everyone to pit if that occurs. But anyway, down to the hairpin. Ender Epic we said many times this race already. Looking at the back of the Alfa Romeo of Mad Dog with DRS, I wonder what's going to happen. It's really unforetold conclusion as we see closing up on the Alfa Romeo. Mad Dog not using any battery. What a surprise. Ender Epic up to 4th place. But the real question is, can Mad Dog get past again into turn 9? He's got a good run out of the chicane, 2 tenths of gap. He's got no chance of defending Ender Epic does as Mad Dog goes around the outside. That was all pointless, and we go again next lap.
It's been the same thing for so long. Actually, for that matter, though, you do have to point out that Mad Dog is on the hard tyres and Ender Epic is on the medium tyres. So Ender's going to be starting to feel that, those mediums come off a little bit now as the hard tyres come into their element, and maybe we'll actually see maybe in the next lap or two one of the other pulling up. Maybe I'd probably predict Mad Dog as well because he's got that initial advantage going into turn 6, but. You never know. You never know how it could be, because normally these kind of things are just force a mistake out of each other.
There's not much you can really do here without using all of your ERS in Sector 3, perhaps, but Ender Epic now within 2 tenths. Is he even going down the inside here? He is. That's interesting. We haven't seen that version of the move. Not quite, although he will have DRS. There might have been slight contact there, but the Ferrari should have DRS here. Gets past the Alfa Romeo once again. Retan's obviously getting past Lemon Trek, who has served their drive-through penalty. But out of the chicane now, Mad Dog should have better traction on those hard tyres. It's James almost getting past Quixotical, in fact, behind. But Mad Dog, can he do it this time? He doesn't look like he's going for it. He's still 3 tenths back, so I think he's just remain in place as It's James gets past Quixotical in the Alpine for 6th place.
It has been quite the same, but it looks like maybe It's James is actually being able to make this overtake stick against Quixotical, and maybe we'll see a bit of a shake-up for once and an overtake stay. But that said, Ender Epic against Mad Dog. Same old. Maybe we'll see a little switcheroo again. Maybe even into turn 1. You never know, really, against these guys. So we could see it happen, but in all likelihood, we'll probably just see another DRS advantage into turn 6 once again. The DRS here is quite strong, and I'm quite surprised that there isn't really been much of a train forming. Everyone's kind of fighting their own battles at the moment, and might I say Cameron Sell with a 7-second lead after that VSE restart as well.
Yeah.
So mighty impressive from him. Joe keeping on pace with last gen. No gap change really there for the last 12 laps, to be fair.
Wow, we see him move into the hairpin from Quixotical, but that's instantly negated as It's James now as the DRS, so there really wasn't much point to that move, but you can, in fact, get down to turn 9 if you've got a good exit here. Last gen Newt just lost half a second to Joe. He was keeping up with him, to be fair, but just falling back slightly. We should soon be seeing some pit stops, hopefully. Most medium tyres should be falling off now. They want to go onto the hard tyres as the undercut is very powerful here. Each lap that you can do whilst your rival is on... Ooh, that's not good for last gen Newt in his chase of Joe, but I'm sure Joe had him covered as he's still on the hard tyres, and Newt will still be wanted to move on to those hard tyres quite soon in the next few laps. It's James now still ahead of Quixotical, and Ender Epic is now the car ahead of Mad Dog, but we'll see on this version of lap 13 what will happen down the back straights.
Yeah, it's looking to be a couple of laps soon. We'll be coming in for the pits. Obviously Joe on the hard tyres going to be staying out, most likely, going to be trying to extend his lead as much as possible. And we've got It's James and Quixotical again doing the same thing as we've seen so many times over. Quixotical with DRS now, going to be onto this back straight. Is he going to make the move stick? Both surely their ERS deployment's got to be quite low at this point, as Quixotical does make his way past It's James, and we've got 50%, 41%. These guys are managing their ERS quite well. at this moment. Obviously, you do get quite a bit back in the pit stop, so possibly you're going to be seeing quite a bit deployed here, and maybe maybe a couple of people picking up the pace throughout the field. Last gen Newt's penalty won't really mean much right at this moment. Obviously, if the race stopped right now, if the 3-second penalty is still going to be in P3 in that podium position, but he's just wanting to make sure, with that little bit of insurance, that he's going to be staying into P3 after everything is said and done. But obviously, going to be seeing after these pit stops that will be coming up very soon, I believe.
As you do have our first one, Ender Epic deciding to choose this lap to head into the box. Obviously, we've had 3 virtual safety cars, so the tyre life wasn't quite as bad as it may have been without those. Ender Epic, quite a slow getaway. I'm not sure if that's just a visual thing, but Quixotical, 6 seconds now of penalties, heads onto the hard tyres. As the tyre wear is very high here, it will be interesting to see how far ahead Ender Epic does get out ahead of Mad Dog, but Mad Dog will be heading onto the medium tyre, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare later on in the race. Last year, Newt just dropping out of 2 seconds there of Joe, but he's got back in it. And Cameron is now 8 seconds ahead of Joe, but obviously still on the medium tyre. It'll be interesting to see actually if Cameron sticks out onto the soft tyre that he's saved from qualifying. I think that might be an option for him if there isn't an instant safety car around now. Cast a curse. Nope, not going to happen. Oh my god, it has.
Oh. What have we got in the wall?
Not enough to record a safety car, but something happened in Sector 2. I'm not quite sure what it was, but that was perfect.
That was very well timed, yeah. But that said, Cameron Salt has not blinked and has not reacted to any of these other guys pitting around him, so he's going to be staying out onto these medium tyres and seeing how long he can make it go. We got Mad Dog in a bit of a pirouette here. I think he may have missed the pit entry, or is he just going to be going straight across? No, he's going to go straight into the pit entry. That might be a cause for concern for Mad Dog. He's locked up onto the pit entry line and trundling down a pit lane and taking a fresh set of boots into the race. And we've got going onto the medium tyres here, and we'll be heading out round about the area of Quixotical, maybe a little bit further back than that, maybe Shrimps for that matter. Yeah, just behind Quixotical for his troubles there, and into P8 for him. Now we've got a bit of a shake up on the order. It's James into P3, and going to be seeing how far they can get around on these tyres.
I mean, we obviously saw in the early stages of the race Ender Epic and Mad Dog now being right next to each other, but there's now a 10-second gap between the two of them, and that can't have happened in one lap. Mad Dog ahead of Quixotical, that was expected. That was a very easy move, and he'll very quickly catch up to the back of Rage if Rage doesn't pit at the end of this lap. Now, heading into the pit stop stage, obviously it's James sticking out on those mediums, I believe, or maybe hards. Cameron Sell into the box now. What does he go on to? Those are some white striped hard tyres, so doesn't decide to go on the softs, but Joe sticks out another lap, obviously still on the hard tyres. I don't think he'll be able to overturn that 8-second gap that was there before the pit stops, but we'll see, and now every lap that Joe doesn't pit, Cameron Sell will be on brand new hard tyres, whilst Joe has been on those hards since the start of the race, so there'll be quite the tyre advantage. Mad Dog, as I said, get past Rage, who is now coming to the pit lane.
It's just going to be a case of Cameron Sell pretty much putting on qualifying laps this moment and trying to really eat down on the time of Joe, because that undercut, as he said, can be quite powerful around this circuit if played correctly. But obviously Joe preferring that offset strategy, maybe he can make it work for himself in the longer run and have some fresher set of tyres at the end of this race to try and battle it out with Cameron Sell for the lead. But it looks like he has been kind of left in the dust a little bit by Cameron, with Cameron pulling out just about an 8-second gap from Joe before he made that pit stop, and is now 11 seconds behind Joe and going to be closing in at a rate of knots against him. Yeah,
so it'll be interesting if Joe decides to pox this lap. He doesn't, in fact, decides to stay out for one more just to get as fresh medium tyres as possible. Last year, Newt has actually not pulled out of 3 seconds of Ender Epic just yet, so that's quite an interesting battle to keep your eye on. Mad Dog now 10 seconds the gap to Ender Epic, so I'm pretty sure he was the one involved in the yellow flag in Sector 2 that we saw. Quick optical down the inside. Wow, that's a move that he's stuck. He's managed to keep it on the track. Fair enough. That's not a move you say quite often, but ahead of the Red Bull now and into 6th place.
That was adventurous. From that camera angle, it looked like he was about to go into the side of it, James, but he's been able to keep that on the track really well and get himself up into P6 from that. A really adventurous move, I must admit. You don't really see many cars trying to make it into there, but, you know, all's to him. I guess if you leave the door open, you may as well go for the gap. But now it's going to be another case of the DRS switcheroo on these 2 back straights here. With it, James going to be getting a nice helping of DRS quite early on in the straight, and now we're going to be deploying it along this line here. Going to be trying to get as much deployment out of it as possible, and to be closing that gap down and get past.
Yeah, so those of you that were keeping track at the front, it's now Cameron Sell came out 11 seconds behind Joe. The gap is now 7.1 as Joe decides to take his pit stop now. 6.7 now as Cameron goes through Sector 3. I believe this will be around a 14-second gap between the 2 cars as Joe comes out of the pits lane, presumably on a set of brand new medium tyres as Cameron Sell sets the fastest lap of the race at the 1:24.0. Last Gen Newt has now pulled out of 3 seconds of Ender Epic, so his track limit warning will not matter as things stand, as Quixotical has now fallen behind its James, and that second gap will not be a good help for him as if he tries to fall out of his DRS. Ender Epic now, can he get ahead of Joe? That's an interesting one actually, but Joe sticks ahead, but it will be interesting to see if Ender Epic does dive it down the inside at some point along these 2 back straights. We obviously saw him have a great time with Mad Dog in the early stages of the race, but Joe will have so much tyre life that the traction difference will make an enormous gap when it comes to exiting this chicane. Ender Epic down the inside on his hard tyres, but I expect Joe to just out-traction him out of the chicane. As we saw with Mad Dog, it's a very easy move that you can do down into turn 9 here as Joe opens up his DRS. Can he go down the inside of Ender Epic into turn 9? Yes, it's a very comfortable move for the Aston Martin up into 3rd place, trying to chase down that 3-second gap to the currently 1-2 McLarens in 1st and 2nd.
So should be able to put out a nice gap through this Sector 3 area, because it is quite a high grip section of the track, and is be able to really extend his position. So obviously with that 3-second time penalty, last Gen Newt is going to be booted down into P3 as it stands right now. But that said, he's probably going to be trying to chase down Cameron Sell as much as possible. He is going to be pretty much needing to be over a lap quicker than Cameron. I'm not sure if that's going to be too feasible for him, so maybe he'll be thinking about settling for 2nd place here and keeping his nose clean, because as it stands in the championship, he will still be in P1 after this race, just on now roughly a 14-point deficit, depending on whether he gets fastest lap or not here, or who gets fastest lap.
Yeah, I think this will be Joe's one and only attempt at getting the fastest lap. Obviously, brand new medium tyres will prove to be quite the help for him. Doesn't get any DRS though, that could be quite interesting, and he might even get held up in Sector 3 if Last Gen Newt gets too close to him. Lemon Trek with another 3-second time penalty. Joe really doesn't want to be getting held up in this Sector 3 because the dirty air won't be proving to be a great help to him. He might have gone off the track there actually and get a warning, but not a penalty worthy. He should be able to get within a second very easily, as he has just demonstrated, for a nice easy pass into the long back straights we have here, but I think Cameron is too far away for anything to happen here. Does Joe get the fastest lap? He does not. Couldn't beat Cameron Sell's 1:24.0 that we saw just a few laps ago.
But it is going to be Joe really closing down that gap already. Now half a second to Last Gen Newt is going to be able to be within that DRS range, and is probably going to be able to out-traction Last Gen Newt through these through the latter stages of this lap now, as he gets onto the back of last gen with his DRS now fully wide open, and now ERS deployment and DRS deployment at its maximum, trying to be getting that gap as wide as possible into the braking zone of turn 6, and now going to be powering his way through already a half a second gap to last gen now, because it's going to be Joe on camera, so maybe even Joe trying to storm his way through as he's really trying to bring down that gap to Camera Cell's. Camera Cell's going to be trying to manage those tires as much as possible. It looks like Joe's going to be setting purple sectors after purple sectors, and hopefully he's going to be setting himself a fastest lap here for an extra couple of points for himself.
He will indeed. We can see what he does around the final corner, whether or not he does beat that time from Cameron, as this will be crucial for him. He beats it by 0.3. That'll be difficult for Cameron Cell to reply with, I think. I believe that should be some ERS deployment down the back straights. That's why we saw him get that purple sector too, but it was, how talented Joe is, and now you can see the back of his car is flashing, which means he is below 10%. So some heavy ERS usage in that previous lap, but it's definitely worth it if it means he could take 2 more points off Cameron Cell. Currently, only an 8-point gap if the results stay like this, so Cameron will get 50, and Joe's 42 will bring the gap down to 16 points, I believe, in the Drivers' Championship heading into Qatar next weekend.
Yeah, and obviously Qatar next weekend is a sprint race, so we'll get an extra haul of points. So that's 10 points for P1, and going down 1 point for each position as well. So it's going to be a nice haul of points there for whoever can try bag their laps together quite nicely in the LaSalle circuit. One is quite new to these guys, as it was introduced quite late on in the release of the game. So we'll be seeing some interesting maneuvers from these guys. Hopefully try and keep it on the track as much as possible, but nothing like the heat of the real circuit of itself in Qatar. Shall we sorry, go for it.
No, you're just going to say that there's not really much action to look at, really. All the drivers now outside of everyone's DRS, so there's not much wheel-to-wheel action, so I believe we can get an interview from one of the 3 drivers that has retired from the race.
Are we able to bring him in? Yes, we are. 1 second.
Potentially.
In just a moment. I don't think my screen's large enough to even... There we go.
Geek. Hello.
And it's a Geek with us here for a quick interview while we have quite a moment to rest ourselves and talk about what happened, mate.
Yeah, that was embarrassing as anything. I honestly don't have a clue. The car just didn't grip up on the exit of 1. I knew I was heading to the wall, so brakes were held. Originally, I only lost my front wing. The problem then was I kind of was stuck right up against the wall, and the only way out was reversing. So I waited for that pack of cars behind to go through, and then tried reversing through it, and then I tried kind of just full throttling to just get the rotation around so I wouldn't get in anyone else's way, and I don't know why, but the left front just decided to commit Alt F4.
Yeah, we did catch that part. So it was quite it was a little bit amusing to see that, but very unfortunate as well, because you were in that contention, possibly for that final podium position against Cameron Cell and Joe. But yeah, it seems to be quite of a switcheroo race right now. Well, it was anyway, where one person would get the lead onto the first back straight, and now then the other person would then retake the lead, retake that position on the second straight. It's
I've been watching it back as I've just been dismantling my wheel from my desk, which, oddly enough, kind of a blessing in disguise. Yeah, but the whole disconnect issues I've been having with the actual rim itself, no word of a lie, I went to try and bring up telemetry for Cameron or Joe just to see, what's what and everything. I couldn't even press the telemetry keys. the wheel just decided to be, haha, no. And that's pretty much that, really. I'll be honest, I had no plans of racing tonight based off of how it had been reacting as of late, and especially in the brief moment of practice I did tonight, it must have disconnected almost over 10 times. There's no real rhyme, rhythm, or consistency for it. It just goes. Like, I can't upshift, I can't downshift, I can't even press the pause button. I actually have to reach over for my keyboard, press escape, and either restart the wheelbase entirely or take the rim off the wheel shaft and just hope and pray that it reconnects. So, yeah, fun times. Not ideal.
Yeah, I would say buy a PS4 controller, but Belgium in Spring 23 taught me otherwise, that it can also have the same effect.
Yeah. I've gone Team Xbox. I've gone Team Xbox in the end.
Oh, come on.
It was cheaper.
Joe's on Xbox, to be fair, and it's clearly working out for him.
Wasn't he on PS originally?
No, he's never been a PS4 user. And it has to be the red one, remember? Not any other colour.
Ah, damn it, I've got carbon. I was thinking maybe the weight safe one could help. Damn it.
You need to get a Pro controller with like the flappy pedals at the back of it. You need to get one of those.
Oh no, there's no way I'm affording something from Scuff or anything. Knowing them, it might accidentally break.
Unlike you all hasn't been, so you know.
Oh, tell me about it. No, Fanasec is they're aware of the issue, and I was going to send it back today, but it's been chucking it down in Plymouth, and I kind of got distracted by Arcane Season 2, so that's tomorrow's job.
I watched that, yeah. That does seem to be quite good. We've now got 25 laps, 25 out of 29 laps, and it's still Cameron's on the lead with Joe. Last gen, still sticking himself out. So it looks like everyone's gap's kind of all growing out a little bit now, so we haven't really got much else to talk about here. So yeah.
Really the opposite of what I expected. Obviously, previous Abu Dhabi race, we needed a safety car. They've used up 3 in the first few laps, and we haven't actually had a proper one.
I feel bad because, in a way, I was thinking, oh crap, am I accidentally going to bring out one? Because I couldn't move. Like I was stuck up against the walls. It's like, I'm kind of stuck here until the pack goes by. And VSC, I was like, huh? Really? Yeah. Seriously?
I thought you would be a full safety car, I can't lie. So I was kind of expecting that, and we'd have some people dive into the pits from that. But
yeah, I mean, the entire front wing just decided to I was going to make a pun there about growing wings and flying, but it's not a Red Bull, so.
You're no longer the Red Bull, yeah.
No, I've left them.
I am looking ahead at my screen, and we finally have a car near another one. Reese stands now within the DRS of Rage. Reese, I have looked at the incident. It has a horrific crash with Alpha on lap 1, bringing out the second of our virtual safety cars. Losing his front wing, has had to pit twice, I believe, in this race. Unable to get the move done in turn 9, as we've seen many, many times. And yes, thank you very much. There's 2 stops for Reese. I don't believe this will be a difficult pass, shall we say, although Rage is on the medium tyre, but I believe with all of Reese's ability, he should be able to get past the Haas quite easily.
Quite a few track limit penalties coming out their way for everyone, so it is going to be a battle of penalties at the end of this all. It looks like it's going to be Quicks dropping down into P8, and actually no, that's pretty much it, to be fair. But this battle for the wooden spoon around here is going to be the only battle on track so far, with the DRS handing going to be really deciding this again. The DRS on this track is incredibly powerful, where you'll see people get a massive advantage on one straight and then lose it all into the next straight as well. Now we've got Reese taken on Rage, and into turn 6 it might be even the same thing as we've seen time and time again. It was pretty much the only thing we were commentating on earlier, by the way. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was just
Well,
it was like, oh, you got the moving down to turn 6, well done. And then turn 9, you've been passed again. Yes.
Yeah. No, myself and Newt, we tried and coordinated it together to try and catch up to Joe, and we were so tantalizingly close. Just, I don't know. I guess the confidence based off of earlier disconnects just wasn't really there, and yeah, because it affects force feedback as well, which is kind of important when driving an F1 car in a racing game.
We've seen quite a few people started on the medium tyres, including yourself as Rage, is that?
Yeah.
We're almost to the half bin in the final few corners. Only Joe started on the hard tyre in the top 6, I believe. Were you anyone thinking about the hards, or just always thought about the medium?
Nah, just start on the mediums, let them dig and get them out of the way as soon as humanly possible, really. Just, if I learned anything from the last encounter we had at Abu Dhabi, which I believe you were there for.
I was.
Harder tyres are key. Harder tyres are definitely key around here. Even with like a 5-lap sprint to the end, do not touch the softs, they will turn into paper shreds.
Because I saw Cameron Searle save his set of soft tyres in qualifying. I wasn't sure if he was going to either start on them or switch onto them after the mediums, but clearly neither was the option. But
Oh, Lord help me. Okay, there we go. Discord did a funny.
I was about to say, did Discord do a funny?
Yes, Discord indeed did do a funny. It's been doing that quite a few times this session. It's been quite annoying, to be fair, because like you're like, because like for qualifying, for example, you're just like, and his time is, and then that's it. You gotta wait.
Just the tension. it just builds and builds and builds. It's like, well, go on then. What's this time? It's like, I'm sorry, Discord's screwed me.
Yeah. We've been
but whilst we've got you, next week is Qatar. Will you be racing?
That's yet to be seen, if I'm honest.
You are,
I can try and see. I can try and see if I'm good on controller. I was 4 seconds slower than my time trial with Monaco on the event that my wheel decided to fully combust then. No, Qatar's fun. It's fast, it's flowing. According to Cam, it's a controller track. I don't really know. I haven't touched it in a while. It could be a good way to try and settle into controller, but I'll see. I've also got coursework and bits and pieces to do. I'll see. If not, I'll gladly help out with anything that ROs or broadcast need.
Yippee!
Fair enough. Well, it's coming down finally to the final lap. Cameron Searle, the 12.5 second lead over Joe. I don't believe Cameron can bottle this one this hard. So, but with Joe still having that fastest lap, there will only be an 8-point gain for Cameron into the next round in Qatar, which is a sprint weekend. So, double the fun, I believe, as Cameron Searle round the last few corners. Only 2 more right-handers to go before his 3rd win of the season, equaling Joe's tally as Cameron Searle, round the final corner, wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix quite convincingly.
That was another display of dominance from Cameron Searle again, coming in for his for that win, and now Joe keeping up his record of finishing no lower than 2nd in any of the races this season, and is once again it's a Cameron Searle Joe put 1-2 on the podium, and got Last Gen Newt rounding out that podium positions with coming in with P3, and an excellent drive from him. I must admit, he's kept himself quite clean throughout this race, starting from he started from 4th and made his way up after taking on Ender Epic and getting that pit stop done neatly and efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, I believe it was his first podium of the season. Might need to be corrected on that.
I believe so. Off the top of my head.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely be proud of that one. Obviously, losing out his Zandvoort, I think, was the closest opportunity he had to Mad Dog, who has come in with P5. Quick's Optical, 18 seconds off of its James, despite winning my personal award for overtake of the day. What a move that was into the right-hander sector 3. Should forward in P8, Reese P9. That 3-second penalty is not enough for Ed to topple him in 9th place, and that is it for today.
What a race it has been. Definitely a bit of a slower one than normal. I was expecting it was going to be a bit more fast-paced from everyone, but at the same time, sometimes races like that happen where gaps do form. Obviously, with the DNFs that we had, we only had 11 drivers to finish that race. So really, there wasn't really much room for for on-track battles once everyone has found their rhythm, found their groove, and pulled out some gaps. So after that, it was a bit of a lonely race, especially for the top 2. I must admit.
I'm sure they're used to it by this point. If nothing bad happens between them, it seems like this is the order they come in. Cameron Searle winning by quite the distance over Joe, who also wins by quite a lot over 3rd place. But oh well, that was a race of all time, I think is one way to say it. But yeah, definitely important for both of their championship challenges. Cameron Searle obviously gaining points over Joe, but still, Joe remaining in that top 2 for all 6 races is very impressive, I must say. And yeah, getting that fastest lap denies Cameron Searle any advantage that he may have gained from that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go down to the wire now.
Without a doubt, yeah. We've got a sprint race coming up and another Grand Prix after that in Suzuka, so it's going to be quite the interesting battle between these two. Obviously, it can be it can be all. The gap can be increased by Joe by quite a margin in the next round if he can get his way past Cameron and into those critical point scoring places, and hopefully we can see a bit more of a fight into the final rounds in Suzuka, where the championship will most likely be decided.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. Obviously, with the quite a large delta between 1st and 2nd place in the point standings. I think if Joe finishes 2nd both rounds and both races next week, then that's an 11-point swing in Cameron's favour without any fastest laps added. So that will bring the gap down to 5 heading into Japan, which is our final round of the season, which whoever comes out on top wins the championship. I think it's as simple as that. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Without a doubt, it is going to be it is pretty much going to be down to the wire. Maybe we can even see Cameron pretty much equalise on points into Suzuka, and we just have a outright whoever finishes above the other for the championship next in a couple of weeks' time in Suzuka for that. But that said, hopefully we should be getting interviews under the way soon. The top 3 this time. Once they all start lining up in their fashionable order.
Oh, I'm fully expecting abuse from Cameron. Fully expecting it.
You can be here for that, yeah. Go for it. And
no, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, we had a great podcast on the final 10 laps of the race. Because there wasn't much on-track action to talk about, really. It's a shame we didn't get much DRS train, as much as they can be boring. It would have been quite interesting to see how that pans out. But
no, I'm with you on that one. I was a bit surprised as well, because I don't think I ever really saw Cameron. He's just gone.
He does that really sometimes.
Really saw much of him either, to be fair. There wasn't really much around him that was happening. It was really the pit stop, and then that was it.
I mean, I know McLaren's esports team is McLaren Shadow, but he took it literally then. He just vanished.
Disappeared off, yeah. Okay, well. But yeah, so...
It seems like the drivers are ready, so without further ado, we'll welcome our 3rd place driver, Last Gen Newt, for his debut here in our lovely interview room. Hello, Newt. Welcome to our world. How was that race for you?
It was really good. It was really boring because I think I was alone for most of it. But I'm just happy to have a podium, to be honest.
Especially after the incident you had at Zandvoort, which wasn't your fault, but technically it was, actually. Anyway, but I'm sure this will be a relief for you. Your play friend, as we'll call it in the early stages of the race, Geek, is here with us.
Hello, sorry I made it lonely for you. I ran out of skill, and then front wings, and then a front left tyre.
Yeah, I think it would have been really close if you had made it to the end, but I'm not going to complain. It made it a lot easier for me.
Well,
You're very welcome.
It was quite a good battle you two had for quite some time. Well, obviously you were trying to close that gap up to Joe as much as possible, and try battle out for that P2 position, as Cameron Cell seemed a little bit unreachable at the times. But that said, you both had a very good race up until the incident. But that said, mate, that was a very good drive to P3. Even if it was a little bit lonely, I mean, we felt a little bit lonely. We had to get Beacon to here as well, otherwise we'd probably go a little bit insane. So all's well ends well. Great first podium, and it's great to see you around for each race of this championship so far.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's really fun racing here. So I'm probably going to continue doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Well,
Happy
next
to
up,
hear it.
next up is the Lusail circuit in Qatar. How do you feel about that? A little bit. Are you a controller player for reference, by the way?
No, I do plan well.
Right, because from what we've heard from Geek, it is going from Geek and Cameron for that matter, it might be a little bit of a controller track. So we'll see how it goes from there, really.
Yeah, I think Qatar is just going to be up to how many penalties I get. So it's all about track limits. I'll just try to keep it as clean as possible and see what happens.
Yeah, that track does seem to be riddled with off-track excursions for quite a lot of people, and we had quite a few people on this race, for that matter, to have a few penalties. So cross fingers, we won't see too much of it next race, but you never know, really. But yeah. Oh dear.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next week for Qatar. Enjoy the sprint race. I'm sure it'll be a great time, and it'll quite possibly be the opposite of today's race. So I imagine there'll be quite the lengthy DRS train for you to enjoy. So yeah, have fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And up next is our P2 finisher of Joe. Had quite a boring race as well. Not really much else to say apart from that. Hello.
Hello. I'm so sleepy, mate. That was boring.
Yeah, I know. Why couldn't you make it a little bit more interesting for us?
Well,
We had to get Geek into it.
Hi, Geek.
Hello, sorry, I just realised I was on mute.
Well, I wasn't as fast as Cameron, so he just kind of drove away, and then I think I was a little bit faster than the people behind, so I just drove away, and then we all finished with 13-second gaps in the podium, so it was just boring.
Yeah, we did kind of see that. But that said, it was another P2 finish for your record so far of finishing in the top two in every race so far, even that sprint race and Interlagos as well. So you're keeping it very consistent this season.
Can you touch some wood, please? You're going to jinx me. Everyone tries to jinx me, so let's touch some wood.
I'm trying.
It's fine. My wooden desk is
lovely. Yep, cool. All right, lovely. There we go.
Might have cursed you though.
Oh no! Oh dear.
It's the wheel attached to it. I'm sorry.
The wheel. But that said, you are still leading the championship, even if it is by a slightly reduced margin. But that said, it is a 16-point gap nonetheless. Still enough to get your way through Lusail and Suzuka. How are you feeling about those two races coming up? Obviously, with Qatar being a sprint race.
Qatar is Qatar. It is a train track, so anything can happen there. That'll be an interesting one. And Japan is the holy grail of wheel tracks, so Cameron will probably finish a pit stop, if not more, ahead of me, I reckon. So we'll see. It's just minimising the point loss to Cameron every weekend till the end now. I managed to reduce something that probably could have been 12 very easily to 8 by nabbing that fastest lap. That was like my whole plan, just like go long, steal his fastest lap, and then reduce the amount of points that he'll gain towards me. Because without him doing something silly, there's not really any way I can beat him on track. So, drive and vibe. I guess that's the plan for the next 2.
Yeah,
Drive and vibe, indeed. Obviously, last time we went to Qatar, you drive and vibed us all, and we got destroyed. I think is the way we phrase that.
All 3 of us in the call, yeah. Now that I
Any
remember.
faith that you could do that again, or is that
Not to Cameron Searle.
Oh, we need some action.
What? You're not going to get Suzuka. Might be fun. Oh, thank you. If
Maybe get some rain.
You can
that'd be fun.
kill Cameron. Oh, full wet Suzuka.
Really?
Oh, God, no. The last time we were there was awful.
I loved it.
Joe had a great time.
Until
So did Mad Dog, to be fair.
Mad Dog had a lovely time.
He did?
I'd take another Mad Dog win if I'm P2.
Bring him back, yeah. We can try resurrect him.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's your time's up, unfortunately. It's been a pleasure as always. It's my final time here in the casting booth for this year at least. So with that, thank you, Joe, for finishing P2 and not giving us entertainment. But moving on, bye-bye.
Love you, bye. You're a nerd.
Wow, okay, then I'm having talks with you.
Wow.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Hi, darling. Anyway.
Also, you removed him.
Anyway, with that out of the way, with him out of the way anyway, we are on to our race winner. A little bit of a lonely race for him as it stands, but he won it. Nothing really else to say apart from the fact that we have Cameron Searle here, the undisputed champion of absolutely pulling out a massive margin from God knows where. Hello.
Yeah, nice to be back in this position again.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
Wow.
I know, it feels like forever, man.
Wow.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's the third week, yeah.
Yeah. But where was the entertainment? Like, why can we have some fun?
I know. I was hoping for a bit of fun, but then,
Don't you dare say it.
Well, a man in the server may have had some fun.
I don't actually know what happened. It's just VSCs and then 5-second gap, and I'm like, where's this come from?
Yeah, you got a good launch out of the VSCs. Because I was literally in the middle of talking about how maybe in the second VSC, maybe Joe can get a bit of an advantage from the second VSD restart and not catch himself sleeping again. But he actually caught himself sleeping again and lost about 1.5 seconds to you on that restart, which was quite a shame to see. But that said, you did pull out an absolute stonking margin against Joe. So what else can I really say about that, really, apart from very well done?
Cheers, mate.
Well, it's Qatar next week, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
Some rumours flying around that you call it a controller track. How are you looking forward to that one?
I don't like it, man. It's tough. I don't know how it is for you guys on pad, but yeah, it's a lot of work and non-stop for 45 minutes. So yeah, that will be.
What I can say, at least, is that Joe's hands will not be in a good state after a sprint and a main race for that race. So you might have that on him.
Oh dear.
But yeah, no, it's very much a full throttle track, and then just lock-to-lock steering. So
You just perfectly described F124.
True.
Yeah.
I have, yes. The beginnings of the end was Qatar.
But apart from that, I mean, yeah, it's a you closed the gap a little bit. Joe did steal that fastest lap off of you. That was his main goal at the end of this. He thought, hey, if he can't get P1, he may as well take fastest lap off of you. But that said, you've got an
16
deficit,
points at the moment.
Yeah, you got 8 points off of him, so you're in a very good shot with the sprint round included. So, I mean, it's only a 1 point difference from P1 to P2 in the sprint race, but I mean, with your guys' consistency this season, it does seem like it's going to be 1-2 till the end of time, really.
1-2 till Matty comes back. No, the races may not always be as entertaining as one may like, but the championship maths is very exciting.
Yes, always is.
It's fine. We'll just throw Vegas on one of the calendars again.
Oh god, no!
We'll do it next season. Just
Neither me nor Matty like that track, do we?
That was the opposite of the race today.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's Craig track.
Yeah, that was fun to commentate over. Thank you very much, guys. I think that was like non-stop. My throat was so dry after that race. I was so done with it. God, yeah. Well, got a championship to fight for here. It's all on the line in the next two races, and it was a very, very brilliant drive. Rather usual, almost expected, really, sometimes from yourself on this evening. So many congratulations for the win, and it will be up to Qatar and Japan for the next two races.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now. Well, that sums up one of the races of all time. Quite frankly, that's quite stale in terms of BUSR content, because it's normally quite a fair bit more interesting than that. But that said, we get a couple of races like that. It's no big deal, really. You know, the championship gap has been closed. We've had a great show of dominance from Cameron Searle again, and with Joe trying to claw as many points as possible back to himself. But we are here to see this championship out to the end. Next up will be Qatar with the sprint race. So we'll be back here same time next week at 7:00 for the start of that. So thank you very much to everyone watching. I'm Alex. I've been joined here by Matty and obviously Geek with his lovely presence for this race.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yep,
thank you.
Likewise, my first venture into the casting world, and it's been great. But anyway, we'll see you next week for Qatar. Thank you for watching.
Guys. Thank you. Bye.
There is no place and no moment in history where I could stand and say, oh, it begins here, now. Bye.